Hello, my name is Justin Basile. I'm a member of the San Diego State University Department of Geography, and it's a pleasure to share some of my experiences and findings on creatively and effectively integrating uses of AI in university teaching and learning. Both my professional background in consulting and now in academia as an educator has led me to explore the intersection between applied teaching, creativity, and emerging applications of artificial intelligence. I'm specifically interested in how generative AI can enhance, augment, and buttress authentic academic engagement. This presentation is a follow-up to my previous video on utilizing AI as a collaborative mechanism for learning while still preserving and developing critical thought and the rigor that defines higher education. In this presentation, I'll share how I integrated AI in course curricula and then the responses and wish lists from students regarding their AI use. My slides in this video do tend to be text heavy, so I provided everything at high resolution so you can pause and zoom if needed. I'm going to focus on two sets of classes that I taught in the fall 2025 semester. Geography 511, Graduate Level Hydrology and Global Environmental Change, and Geography 101, Introductory Level Physical Geography, often taken as a general education credit primarily by freshmen and sophomores. I require AI use on every assignment I give, as well as on projects and final exams. I also require all students to get the SDSU AI micro-credential. The way I structure my classes tends to be as practicums. Ideally, lecture content must be understood in order to perform practical tasks that are deliverables for assignments. This short circuits the concept of simply going to AI for answers. The AI cannot do the practical work and applications for the students. The graduate level class was primarily upperclassmen. As with many classes, even upper division, the overwhelming majority of the class had very few basic computer skills and little to no understanding of file management outside of saving things in recent files, and very little to no experience in coding or statistics. In terms of skill level, the undergrads in Geography 101 were very similar, and in many cases with even smaller skill sets. The most notable similarity between both classes, outside of the technical skills, was that very few people had ever had the experience of simply writing down a logical progression of cause to effect steps that would lead to a tangible goal. Simplistically, this would be akin to actually verbalizing the steps that one would take to bake a cake. Someone simply saying, I bake a cake, and being able to go no further than that description, rather than someone writing the logical steps of a recipe from start to finish and successfully communicating an entire process with all requisite steps that lead to the success. One of the first things that I have my students do, in addition to obtaining the micro-credential, is to utilize AI as a tutor for a specific topic. The idea behind this is to provide some insight in a basic prompt toolkit that starts the student down the road of self-starting learning. Anecdotally, I've gotten very enthusiastic feedback from students. Using AI as a tutor via this prompt allows students to engage in learning in a safe, non-judgmental environment. I also find that AI lends itself to an equitable learning environment. If language barriers are removed by way of instant translation, then there is a safe space for tutoring. Anecdotally, I have found that students whose accommodation needs include multimodal support have that support augmented via AI through AI-generated visualizations and stepwise explanations. I find that students genuinely appreciate and engage in those abilities and spaces. I'll never get tired of walking around the computer lab and seeing my students come up with new ways to have AI visually communicate and explain something to them. It is very inspiring and very, very cool. I'll include the prompt here that you see in the comment section below the video if you'd care to use it yourselves. By the end of the semester, both of my classes had significantly ramped up their skill sets. The upper division students have been required throughout the semester to vibe code for statistics and use AI for tutoring and website creation. My lower division students were using the AI for tutoring, creating presentations and graphic content, and for error checking their geospatial interpretations and practicum assignments. By being required to use AI in ethical and responsible ways, I found that AI was providing an equitable environment for learning. Everyone had access to and the skill to utilize the tools that help them learn in that safe, non-judgmental environment. While AI helped broaden access and support, some students still needed different kinds of scaffolding to use those tools effectively and responsibly. I was very pleased with student progress and successes. I decided to obtain feedback from my classes using a structured student reflection, which included a question about their use of AI. Based on what you've learned about AI, your experience, prompt engineering, and studying, what would you have wanted to know at the beginning of the semester that would have made your experiences better for this class and for your work? Of the 68 students enrolled in my graduate level class, 61 responded, primarily seniors. Of the 163 students in my two sections of Geography 101, 137 responded, a fairly even number of freshmen and sophomores. I've also included a breakdown of majors for the students. I received 61 responses in my upper division class, primarily environmental science majors. In my introductory physical geography classes, I received 137 responses, primarily non-majors, for a total of 198 student voices. I think the takeaway from the class and program breakdowns was that today I'm sharing the clear patterns that emerged and the concrete evidence-based changes that we as faculty can all make to create a more productive, rigorous AI-enhanced learning environment across SDSU. To be clear, these aren't anecdotal comments. Every response from the survey was parsed and thematically coded. The scale and honesty give us real pedagogical intelligence that we can act on as needed by students, as well as by curriculum and departmental requirement. In in my graduate level class, the insights students gave went deeper into their technical workflow as well as their perception of AI. 20 of the 61 students emphasized treating AI as a true partner rather than a crutch. One wrote to use AI like a tool, not as a generator. This change in perception of AI was part of the intent on how I have leveraged AI into my classes, to get AI to augment and buttress creativity rather than having people depend on it for creation. On the path of technical skills, 18 students highlighted the need for iteration and chat management. 15 stressed an upfront file path organization with comments referencing their directory paths. Though at first these insights into the tech may seem dissimilar, they are actually linked intuitively. Understanding the concepts of the logical iteration, logical organization of data and tech management, and an understanding of cause to effect with relationship to the tech yielded vastly improved student performance. From responses and anecdotally, many students felt way out of their depth with the tech. However, once they were on the path, these logical applications were picked up almost by second nature by mid-semester. Learning to manage chat windows was absolutely key for students, as well as disabling the between chat memory features whenever possible. This allows students to create conversations without fear of inheriting errors, code, preferences, or other pitfalls from previous chats. The value of a blank slate for an AI conversation can't be overstated. It is essentially the antithesis of all the connectivity that is supposedly for our benefit, but in this context actually acts to our detriment. However, once people start logically constructing prompts with clear goals, that inter-chat connectivity often became a wet blanket on logic and creation and cost students many, many hours of lost time. In my intro-level classes, the insights were more foundational and mindset-oriented. 33 students highlighted the discovery of new AI tools like Gamma.app. Students know from peer conversations and from social media how prevalent AI has become in the workplace and what a critical tool it is when moving forward with their careers, and they want to explore the possibilities outside of some simple chats with GPTs. They want to try video and graphic editing, presentations, and music. Something I found most important was that 28 students described a powerful mindset shift when it came to AI use. Many entered my class viewing AI as cheating or ethically questionable. One reflected that they originally viewed AI as a negative thing, and now they realize how important it is to use it properly in 2025. This philosophical shift, in my mind, is critically important. AI is here to stay, and from my perspective, AI is as bad as it will ever be. The capabilities of AI are only going to get better and become more prevalent. Adoption of AI for creation is, in my mind, the next logical step for every field and profession. Even students at the most introductory levels understand this. The single most consistent theme across all my classes was the critical importance of prompt engineering. In my upper division classes, two students put it perfectly. The details of the prompts is astronomically important. It takes 3 or more prompts to get the correct results. Another added that you have to be specific with prompting. The more detail, context, and support you give the AI, the more effective it is. In my introductory class, the language is nearly identical. To get the correct output, you have to be extremely specific and add extra details at the beginning. The data would seem to indicate that a dedicated prompt engineering module in week one, complete with in class exercises on file paths, on outputs, output formats, and iteration, could now be a foundational requirement for any class that has heavy AI integration. Given that my students all get the SDSU AI micro credential, a supplementary Canvas course might be in order to really take this concept of AI interaction to a desired level. Anecdotally, I'd say that it could save my students dozens of hours of time. If we have the ability to standardize and create another and more advanced course of this nature and ensure its equitable and inclusive nature, I think it would very greatly benefit students. It would also seem a logical thing to have, given the new presence of AI as a program here at SDSU as a degree awarded study. So, what does the direct comparison between and among upper and lower division students and classes tell us? I believe the similarities are striking. Prompt specificity is the universal number one need at all levels. Both groups learn to treat AI as a partner and value iteration. However, I think that the differences are equally instructive. Advanced students crave technical precision and structured reflection. This would seem to me that realization that a blend of technical skill and logical thought are linked to greatest student successes. At the introductory level, students need foundational confidence builders. Visual checking tutorials, explicit permission, and significant push to use AI without guilt, as well as introductions to multiple AI platforms, agents, and tools. I believe AI adoption within a set of program or department curricula is possible, but a model of one size fits all wouldn't work. As faculty, we would certainly want to scaffold AI integration intentionally by course and by class level. Moving forward, these 198 student voices have provided us some concrete recommendations that many of us can probably implement. As a for instance, what a fuck man, I can't talk. Moving forward, these 198 student voices have produced some concrete recommendations that many of us could probably implement. Moving forward, these 198 student voices have produced concrete recommendations that many of us could probably implement. A week one prompt boot camp for both upper and lower division students and classes would be something like a 20-minute in-class exercise using and creating real assignment prompts that require a logical, detailed, step-by-step framework that can serve for future prompt models. I believe that mandatory reflection logs in advanced classes would be a great idea. Students would need to articulate both human judgment and logical stepwise prompt construction in every AI-assisted deliverable. I think that an early conversation regarding the mindset that folks have on AI would have great effect in intro level classes. An open discussion of ethical use and real world relevance would reduce fears and instill some needed confidence. Lastly, I do believe that practice is key. A semester long practical implementation related to thematic material in classes and requiring students to engage in skills development would go a long way towards end goals of both competency and confidence. I believe the results in my classes will be less frustration, higher quality work, and students who will have significant long term and career oriented advantages using AI to buttress their skills and applications of knowledge. I believe the results I've talked about here provide the beginnings of a good roadmap. In listening to student voices in this context and translating them into intentional course design, we can create a more productive, rigorous, and human centered AI learning environment across SDSU, which works in parallel with our new status as an R1 institution. I believe everything that we're doing with AI is a work in progress, and I'd welcome conversation and critical feedback from everyone watching. Please do reach out and share your own student reflections, and thank you so much for listening.